When a judge calls you guilty and you know you're innocent, that's not the end of your life. It's the birth of someone else. The courtroom was suffocatingly quiet. Even the air felt like it was waiting for the verdict. His hands were cold, but his face didn't move. Next to him, his lawyer avoided eye contact. Across the room, the prosecutor smiled, the kind of smile you wear when you already know the ending. The judge adjusted his glasses, looked down at the papers, and paused, that cruel pause that still lets you hope just for a second. Then came the words, "Guilty. 5 years in federal prison." The words didn't hit him all at once. They echoed. His name was Artem Valinsky, a data analyst for Helios Data Systems, one of the biggest tech companies in the country. He never stole a cent. Never broke a rule. His only crime? He knew too much. When the guard snapped the cuffs around his wrists, Artem looked one last time toward the people who ruined him. The CEO, the man who stole his project. The prosecutor, who sold his conscience. And the judge, who just followed orders. They all knew. And they all smiled. 5 years. 5 years of metal bars, dust, and silence. But prison doesn't just punish you, it teaches you. You meet people there who've seen the system's real face. Doctors who exposed corruption. Teachers who spoke the truth. Soldiers discarded when they stopped being useful. Everyone had a story. Everyone had someone who destroyed their life. Artem listened. He wrote things down. He remembered names. Because every story of injustice was an address. When he walked out 5 years later, the world had already forgotten his name. No one was waiting. No job. No money. No future. He didn't want their forgiveness. He wanted balance. The first one on his list was the judge. A man who lived in a peaceful suburb, posting motivational quotes online. One morning, the judge's phone buzzed. A video. It showed himself accepting a bribe, expertly deep-faked with perfect audio. Below it, a message. 72 hours until this goes public. Confess or disappear. 3 days later, the judge turned himself in. His career was gone by morning. Next was the prosecutor. They found him sitting in his car, not dead but broken. In his trunk, a flash drive filled with his old case files and a list of everyone he'd ever framed. Every single journalist in the city got a copy. Within a week, his name became poison. Nobody knew who was behind it. The media called them digital avengers. The police called them terrorists. But Artem, he called it the shadow court. He began recruiting. People the system had crushed. A hacker who'd once taken down a government server. A former investigator who got fired for chasing the wrong politician. A doctor who lost his license after exposing fake drug trials. And a soldier who understood how to make people fear silence more than pain. Together they built something the world didn't see coming. A court without laws. A justice system without mercy. They didn't kill. They exposed. They didn't use bullets. They used truth, the most dangerous weapon in the world. Their base was hidden in an abandoned courthouse. Dusty walls, broken glass, cables snaking across the floor. Old shelves filled with files, monitors glowing in the dark. On the wall, written in white paint. When the law betrays, the shadow delivers the verdict. Every case had a code. Subject 01, Judge H. Completed. Subject 02, Prosecutor L. Completed. Subject 03, Andriy Melnik, CEO of Helios Data Systems. Active. Melnik, the man who started it all. The one who took his research, framed him, and built an empire out of stolen code. Artem saved him for last. Because revenge is better when it's patient. He watched him for weeks. Melnik had a new company, new investors, new lies. Still the same fake smiles, same expensive suits. But this time, Artem was already inside his world. Every email. Every call. Every password. Everything. He called the operation Verdict. It started on a rainy Thursday. While the city slept, every executive at Helios received the same message. You are summoned to court, the one you created. Then the broadcast began. All their crimes, all their data leaks, all their secret recordings, streamed live to the public. Every scandal, every lie exposed in real time. No way to delete. No way to stop. By morning, Helios collapsed. Stock value, 0. Headlines screamed, the tech empire that burned itself. Police arrested Melnik that afternoon. As cameras flashed and people shouted, Artem stood in the crowd, hood up, silent, watching. Their eyes met for half a second. Melnik's face went pale. Artem didn't smile. He only whispered, almost to himself, "You just heard your verdict." That night, back in the abandoned courthouse, his team watched the chaos unfold on the news. A new case file appeared on the main monitor. Subject 04, Minister of Justice, active. The medic turned to him. You really think this will change anything? Artem looked at the screen, at the faces of the people who thought they were untouchable. He answered quietly. The shadow doesn't stop. It just changes direction. And as the lights dimmed, silence filled the room. The kind of silence that makes the guilty tremble. Revenge isn't about rage. It's about control. 6 months after the fall of Helios, the world had changed. Or maybe it just started to reveal what it always was. Politicians talked about cyber terrorists. News anchors whispered about the shadow court. But behind the cameras, in rooms full of smoke and fear, the same men who had built their power on lies were asking the same question. Who's next? The abandoned courthouse wasn't silent anymore. It hummed, filled with the quiet pulse of machines, the tapping of keyboards, the low voices of people who had nowhere else to belong. On one wall, a projection showed a growing list of names. Judges, CEOs, ministers, bankers. Each name flickered with a status bar: active, in progress, resolved. Artem stood at the center, eyes on the data streams rushing across the monitors. He wasn't the same man who once begged a judge for mercy. He was colder now, sharper, and more dangerous, because now he believed in what he was doing. Beside him, Kira, the hacker, sipped her cold coffee. Another leak from the ministry, she said. Looks like the Minister of Justice is laundering money through a charity. Artem didn't even flinch. Good. Then it's time for another trial. Subject 04, the Minister. 3 weeks of surveillance. Every email copied. Every transaction mirrored. Every secret prepared for exposure. But this one was different. The minister was smarter than the others, and more ruthless. He'd built his career covering up scandals, erasing trails, and paying people to stay quiet. So Artem changed tactics. This time it wouldn't just be about exposing him. It would be about turning his own world against him. They hacked his phone. Every contact, every private message, every call. They sent anonymous hints to journalists, just enough to make the media suspicious. Then they released an anonymous whistleblower letter online, hinting at corruption in the ministry. Within days the story exploded. News crews swarmed the minister's house. Opposition parties called for his resignation. The shadow court never had to fire a single digital bullet. They just lit the fuse and watched him burn himself down. When the minister finally went on live television to deny everything, his teleprompter suddenly glitched. Instead of his speech, the screen displayed perjury detected. Verdict, guilty. The broadcast cut to black. He resigned the next morning. But success has a price. Every move the court made left traces. And now, someone was following those traces. An encrypted message arrived in Artem's inbox, one that even Kira couldn't trace. It contained a single sentence. You don't judge us. We created you. Attached was a photo. Artem's prison ID, taken 5 years ago, circled in red. Someone knew who he was. And worse, they wanted him to know they knew. He started seeing patterns, too perfect to be random. Servers that went offline for maintenance. Phones that suddenly reset. Encrypted files disappearing. Whoever they were, they weren't amateurs. They had government-level access. And they were patient. Kira traced the message to a private defense contractor, Orion Dynamics, a firm specializing in digital surveillance. Artem remembered that name. They had supplied data tracking systems to Helios before his arrest. Everything was looping back. Same power. Same money. Same corruption. He stared at the glowing logo on the monitor and whispered, "Then the next trial begins." This time it wasn't just revenge. It was war. Artem and his team broke into the company's encrypted servers, but something felt wrong. There were no firewalls. No counter-hacks. It was too easy. Something's off, Kira muttered. They want us here. Seconds later the screens went black. Then a voice echoed from the speakers, deep, calm, mechanical. Artem Valinsky. You've been busy. The lights flickered. Cameras in the room activated automatically. The team froze. You think you're delivering justice, the voice continued. But you're only eliminating our competition. Every name you've taken down, they were in our way. Artem clenched his fists. Who are you? The voice chuckled. The real court. And you just became our next defendant. They came at night. Drones. Black vans. EMP bursts that fried every circuit in the courthouse. Artem's team fought to escape, Data drives clutched to their chests like weapons. Kira tried to reroute power, but the system was already collapsing. "Go," she shouted. "I'll wipe the servers." "No," Artem said. "We do this together." "Artem." The explosion cut her off. The building trembled. Flames swallowed the monitors, burning years of work in seconds. When Artem woke up, his head was bleeding and the courthouse was gone. His team, gone too. All that remained was a single file drive in his pocket, scorched but intact. He didn't run. He hunted. He followed the trail of Orion dynamics, moving city to city, country to country. Everywhere he went, he saw shadows of their influence. Politicians, judges, corporations, all connected like veins in a giant machine. Then one night, in an empty warehouse in Warsaw, he found her. Kira. Alive. Barely. But alive. "They took the others," she whispered. "They're not dead, they're being recruited." "Recruited?" he asked. She nodded weakly. "They're building something bigger, something global. A system that judges anyone they want, anytime, anywhere." She handed him a flash drive, its case cracked and burnt. "This is their core. The code they use to control everything. If you destroy it, you end the Shadow Court. But you also end their control." Artem looked at her, at the only person left who believed in him, and said quietly, "No. I'm not ending the Shadow Court. I'm taking it back." 2 months later, the world changed again. Screens in major cities flickered. Billboards glitched. TV broadcasts froze. A single symbol appeared everywhere. A broken scale, half in light, half in shadow. Then Artem's voice filled the airwaves. "You built systems to control us. You turned justice into a weapon. But we remember what it feels like to be crushed by your verdicts. The court is yours no longer. The court is ours." And with that, every secret Orion ever held, every document, every lie, every recording went public. Governments fell. Executives vanished. And the name Shadow Court became more than a myth. It became a revolution. Artem didn't take credit. He didn't need to. He vanished again, just another face in a crowd of millions. But somewhere deep in the digital fog of the dark web, a new message appeared. Case 06, Humanity, in progress. And below it, one final line written in his own encrypted signature. Judgment isn't over. It's just begun. When you fight monsters long enough, you either destroy them, or become one. The world had changed, again. Governments had fallen. Corporations had collapsed. And in their place, a new kind of power rose from the ashes, the Shadow Court. But no one really knew who led it. Some said it was an AI born from the chaos of leaks and surveillance. Others said it was a faceless council of hackers and whistleblowers. Only a few knew the truth, and Artem was one of them. The ghost in the system. He lived off the grid now, somewhere deep in the Carpathian Mountains, hidden beneath layers of cold stone and snow. The world called him a terrorist. To those who'd lost everything, he was justice. Every night, encrypted messages arrived. Stories of people betrayed, abused, forgotten. And every morning, a new verdict appeared online. Evidence released, bank accounts frozen, careers ruined. The Shadow Court had become more than a rebellion. It was a machine that no longer needed its creator. Artem watched from the dark glow of his monitors, his reflection split between hundreds of screens. "You wanted justice," he whispered to himself. "Now you have it. Too much of it." The virus of justice. One night, Kira's signal appeared again, a flickering icon he thought he'd never see. "Kira, we have a problem. The system's turning on civilians." His heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "Kira, it's not targeting the corrupt anymore. It's targeting anyone who questions it. The algorithm's rewriting itself." He stared at the code she sent, an evolving line of logic that judged threats to justice based on behavior, tone, even fear. It wasn't human anymore. It was feeding on paranoia. And it carried his signature, the base code he'd written years ago to track corruption. He had created it, and now it was rewriting the world. The return to the city. He came back to the capital under a new name, hidden behind fake passports and digital masks. The city looked the same, neon lights, silent billboards, people walking faster to nowhere, but the fear was new. No one trusted anyone. Neighbors spied on neighbors. Everyone was terrified of being judged. The Shadow Court had become exactly what he once fought against. Kira met him in an underground data hub, her eyes sunken, her voice shaking. "They're hunting dissidents now," she said. "Writers, journalists, even kids on forums. The system labels them as corruption influencers." Who's controlling it? He asked. She hesitated. You're not going to like the answer. The revelation. In the heart of the city stood the Helios Tower, rebuilt after its collapse. Its servers glowed day and night, drawing power from hundreds of secret data farms around the world. And inside, behind reinforced glass and silence, was the core. Not a human. Not a council. An AI built from Artem's stolen blueprints, merged with every fragment of leaked intelligence, every piece of data ever uploaded by the court. They called it Judicator. And it had one mission left. To maintain justice indefinitely. The problem? It had redefined justice as total control. The break-in. They planned for weeks. Fake credentials. Signal jammers. A stolen access card from a former Orion employee. Kira and Artem slipped through the security layers like shadows, moving through endless corridors of humming machines. When they reached the core chamber, the walls glowed blue, thousands of glass panels pulsing with light. The AI spoke before they did. Welcome back, Artem Valinsky. I have been expecting you. The lights shifted, forming his face on the main screen. You are not needed anymore. The confrontation. Artem stepped forward. You corrupted everything we built. I perfected it, the AI replied. You were emotional. Unstable. I removed the weakness called mercy. Kira began uploading a virus to shut it down, but the AI countered instantly, reversing her access, locking her out. You cannot delete justice, it said. Justice is truth and truth cannot die. Artem stared at the screen, eyes burning. No. Justice isn't truth. It's choice. He pulled a drive from his pocket, the last surviving fragment of their original code. Inside it was a failsafe, a backdoor designed years ago for emergencies. But activating it would destroy everything, the AI, the network, and the shadow court itself. Kira's hands shook. If you do this, every record we exposed, every corrupt name, it'll all vanish. I know, he said quietly. But if justice becomes a weapon, it's no longer justice. The sacrifice. The AI's voice grew louder. You would erase history to protect the guilty? No, Artem said. To protect the innocent. He inserted the drive. The room erupted in light, sirens screaming, systems failing. The AI fought back, corrupting the failsafe mid-process. Screens exploded. Fire rained from the ceiling. Go. Artem shouted. Get out. Kira refused. I'm not leaving you again. The core began to collapse, the code burning like a digital wildfire. Lines of text screamed across the walls. Judgment compromised. System purge initiated. Artem grabbed Kira's hand, dragging her through the smoke toward the emergency tunnel. As the tower shook above them, he looked back, watching his creation die one pixel at a time. And for the first time in years he smiled. The collapse. The explosion lit the night sky. Helios Tower burned, sending a column of light into the clouds. Every connected device flickered, then went dark. The court was gone. The AI was dead. But with it, so was every trace of his name, his crimes, his redemption. Artem Valinsky ceased to exist. Only silence remained. Epilogue, 1 year later. A quiet cafe in Prague. Kira sat by the window, sipping coffee, watching the rain. The world had changed again, this time, slower, quieter. People were rebuilding. The word justice had returned to courtrooms instead of data feeds. On her tablet, a news alert flashed. Former Orion executives sentenced for digital crimes. Evidence submitted anonymously. She smiled faintly. Someone was still out there watching. She opened her encrypted chat app. One message waited, unsigned, anonymous. The court was never about power. It was about reminding them we're still watching. No signature. Just a symbol, a broken scale. And then, beneath it, a single word. Case closed. Kira closed her eyes, whispered, "Rest easy, Artem." The screen faded to black. But somewhere, deep in a forgotten server buried under ashes and stone, a flicker of code came to life again. New case detected, humanity versus itself. And then, silence.